Okay, so let's start. Today we will briefly discuss how to use EndNote. But first, my question is, how many people here have never heard about EndNote? Can you raise your hands? Okay, you never heard. Misha, you also didn't.
Just for common, for a common.
So, but you know that such name exists in the world. Okay, and then raise your hands who are not using EndNote every day. Okay, so
Every day.
every month.
No, I'm using, but my computer is okay.
Okay, so then for those who don't know what is EndNote, EndNote is a software that helps you to organize your citations and references in your scientific paper, in your thesis, or any kind of document. So if you are citing some papers, then it's much easier to do it using EndNote. So it's a software that helps you to organize your references. And then the next question is why to use EndNote? And this is my, in my strong opinion, everybody should use EndNote because the first reason why to use EndNote is your personal time. So if you're writing just one scientific paper, then you will save a bit of your time because all your references will be formatted automatically. If your paper is rejected from some journal, then you will save much more time because to send to another journal, normally you need to reformat all your references according to journal rules. And in this way, you will save much more time because your reference is ready. You just need to push one button and choose another style. And finally, when you are writing a lot of papers, when you already have some library of selected papers that you are using very often, then you're really saving a lot of time because you don't search every time for some paper. You don't think how you should organize this in your Word document and so on. And just to give an example how much time you can save, try to guess how much time did I spend on writing my thesis, PhD thesis.
2 minutes.
No, 2 minutes is too fast.
3 years.
Almost. But from the time when I opened the Word template till the time that I had to submit it to the committee, it was more or less 8 hours, including lunch break. And of course, it was very easy to just compile a big file from several papers when all the citations, all the references in these papers were in the right format. So I just did a copy paste from the papers and then updated this library so the reference was already in the right format. Otherwise, I could spend 3 years to to make it correct. And today we will learn some basics. So first, how do we start? How do we create our library? And where do we get the sources to fill this library? Then how do we use this library when we write a document, when we write a paper? And finally, some advices on styles and how to use some specific options of EndNote. And this is the end of the presentation. Then I will open my Microsoft
So you see, this
editor.
presentation was prepared also extremely fast, just before
Exactly.
5 minutes before seminar was
Not
started.
necessarily, it didn't contain references.
Yes.
But this will be the topic of the next seminar. How to avoid references at all.
So some of you have laptops, and so you have EndNote installed already, right?
Yes.
Okay, then you will have a chance to practice. Those of you who have no laptops,
For a chance to sleep, so it's also
yes, I think you will be active participants to give you suggestions. So let's start to write our paper, and those who have no laptops, let's suggest
to write
a
master
topic.
thesis.
Exactly. So let's invent the subject, the title of our master thesis.
Yes.
Give your suggestions.
Any suggestion for master thesis? Successful master thesis?
Machine learning.
Okay. I don't know what is learning. I know what is machine learning. Okay.
Machine learning from people.
From
People.
people.
From humans.
From humans. Okay, let's call it
Very
machine
basic logic.
machine learning from humans. Infrared study, right? Something like this. So we're starting to write our thesis, and meanwhile we will open EndNote. If you have installed EndNote to your laptops, then you should have this bottom EndNote, and you should press go to EndNote. Or you can just open EndNote from applications from the Windows Start menu. And so, since it's my first time I'm using EndNote, I'm creating a new library. Let's call it machine learning, like this. Okay, we have our library, which is so far empty, and there are different ways how do we fill our library. The easiest way is to press new reference, and you can just do it manually. This is not the best way, but for example, you are trying to cite some paper from 1886, and this paper is written in Russian or in Rostov, in native Rostov language, and you're not able to find it in any way online. And so you decided, okay, I will put everything manually, I will put authors, years, title, etc. So I will not spend time on doing this, but this is one option.
It's better to spend just a little bit of time because we can assume that this is a book.
Okay.
Because typically for a book you need to fill in many other things. So
Okay.
please the format
Yes.
of this.
So let's assume this is a book, and we.
Ivanov is a famous author.
Yes. Ivanov, and let's imagine his name. I don't know. Ivanov, like this.
Yes.
Then he wrote this book in like this, and he wrote about machine learning.
Yes. For drummers.
And the editor was
His father or
yes. Okay, his father was Ivanov, not Ivanov.
yes. Close father, stepfather.
like this. If you cite a book, then most of the journals will ask you the place, publisher, the place published, and publisher. So, place published.
Village somewhere.
Okay, let's call it like this.
Incorporated.
Yes. And publisher
And sounds.
and Sons.
The number of pages.
Yes, number of pages. So I think it was
not volumes of pages.
number of pages. Where is it? Yes, number of pages. Sentence.
13, yeah.
Yes. So this was the book for kids with pictures.
That's all.
So that's all. Let's save. This is our first reference in our masterclass. Then another more advanced option to add references. Actually, you can search from EndNote. It doesn't work always, but let's try. So I put something. For example, I put some title. I know what is the title of this book. I press Ctrl S to save this reference, and then I do find reference updates. So let's see if it will find something. Okay, it didn't. Just to show you that sometimes it works. Okay, let's try to use this digital object identifier. Normally, using DOI you can find. Okay, so I think it was the same. So I do update, save updates. So this is our second reference. But keep in mind that when you get any reference from the web or from somewhere, sometimes it contains mistakes. So sometimes you will need to open and to manually start to edit everything. For example, this reference has no title, and the journal is called Machine Learning, which is probably wrong because I have not seen this journal yet. Maybe so. Probably title was Machine Learning, and the journal probably it was not a journal. It was okay. The journal is Machine Learning. No.
You discover that
Okay.
the journal exists.
I need to put it to bookmarks. So next paper we should send there. Especially if it will be machine learning infrared study. Okay, then our second reference is ready. Another option is to download, for example, if you open some paper, normally every journal suggests this option, cite this article, and you can download different files with citation information. If you see EndNote, of course you download EndNote, but all other types of references EndNote is also able to process. So RES or BIB you can also use. But we will download EndNote. I open this and I see my third reference in my library. Then finally, sometimes there is some cases when you don't know what to cite. For example, when we start to write our paper or our thesis, the first paragraph is some kind of introduction, and we need to show that our topic, machine learning in this case, is really very interesting topic. And so our first sentence will be that machine learning is very interesting topic. Very. And to convince people that your topic is really interesting, sometimes you want to cite some famous book or some very important paper in this field. But since you're just starting to write your thesis, of course you don't know any famous people in this field. You don't know, you haven't ever read any books. And so one of the options is to go to any search engine you prefer. So Google Scholar is open, you can use it. By the way, now if you use Google Scholar, you should press here, and there is advanced search. So like this you can search by authors, by journals, by years, and so on. Previously, who are using Google Scholar know that previously this option was here, but for some reason now they decided to hide this option, probably to push more people to use some more advanced search engines, for example, like Web of Science. So let's use Web of Science as another example, but you can use Scopus or whatever. So I want to look for machine learning, and we decided that we need to convince people that machine learning is very interesting topic, and let's find something from nature. Okay, there are a lot of papers. I can say I want only from 2017. And I can click some papers that I like more, and I can add them to marked list. So first let's see, if I open just one, I can somewhere I can download EndNote. Okay, I will show it later. But for the moment, let's add to marked list. Did it work? Okay, I have 3 papers in my list. And then let's search something in science. Okay, there are some papers in science. I also add them to list. And then I open my marked list, and I can save this list to EndNote or to whatever. So I want to save it to EndNote desktop. And I can choose what I would like to have in these references. For example, I can also have abstracts if I want, just because nobody is reading papers, everybody is reading abstracts. And if you're citing a paper, please read at least an abstract. And in this way, it's very useful to have abstracts in your library. So I've imported 5 more references. This way is much faster because you can import as much as you want. So we have 8 references at all. Let's select some of them, and let's assume that now we learned the first part, how to make your own library. So you know that there are different sources how you can import the references here. And then when you are writing your text, so we decided that this is an interesting topic, and we cite some papers here, and you can click Insert Citation, or just Alt+2, and these citations in some strange format will appear here. And for the moment, this is just plain text, which means that the first author is Banzak, the year is 2018, and number 4 is just internal number of this reference because it was the 4th that we imported here. So number 4 have no any global meaning, it's just some link for EndNote. And then if I do update citations and bibliography, these citations are converted into links. So now this is not just a plain text, it's a link, and we can click link and find this paper here. And let's choose some style for formatting your references. For example, we choose ACS. And any journal you want to publish in normally has EndNote styles on at its homepage. And also EndNote has a lot of built-in styles, like more than 1000 styles. And also keep in mind that sometimes styles are getting outdated because journals are updating their rules. The easiest way is to go to journal homepage and find the style there. So we decided to use the style ACS. So we have our 1 to 5 citations, references, and we started to fill our last chapter, which is called references. Then, for example, if I'm writing my paper and I know that I want to cite some exact paper that I'm citing very often, and I remember the name of the author, you can even don't use this Alt+2, and you don't need to search for your reference here. You can just put these brackets and you write, for example, author name or the title of the paper that you want to cite. And then when you click Update Citations and Bibliography, it will be automatically converted to the proper citations. If you have more than 2 references authored by Ivanov, then the program will ask you to choose which one you're actually willing to cite. And the cool thing now that I decided to cite this book of Ivanov before all the citations in Nature, and the program automatically updated for me the file order. So now the book of Ivanov is number 1, even though it was written in 2019, and all others are now starting from 2 to 6. And in principle, this is everything you need to know to start using EndNote. And to start, it's quite easy program. So for your master thesis, it will be really very easy to handle. And now I want to go into some details, but if you have some questions about how to collect references and how to insert them into your text, you can ask now.
How do you convert them back to a plain text?
Okay, so I can select, no, I don't need to select. So there is an option convert citations and bibliography, and there is convert to, so there are different options. The first one is convert to unformatted citations. If I do like this, it gives me back this file where all citations are written like this, just in the text, it's not links. Then,
Will it be a problem if there are repeating names? So
of course,
I
but
want to convert to the plain text, and then which could be uniquely converted back to this formatted format without
okay.
asking me any
Yes,
questions.
okay. This is the question that I wanted to cover
Okay,
later. And if there are no questions on these basics, let's go to this question. So imagine that our text is finished. So we read an introduction, and we have the title, and we have conclusion. No, we don't have conclusions, but we have references, which is already a lot. And so we now want to send this paper to, for example, to your supervisor to check. And your supervisor also wants to make some corrections in your text, and probably to make some corrections in your references. For example, he will decide to remove this book from EndNote. First of all, most probably your supervisor will have EndNote installed on his laptop, because normally a lot of people today, all the scientists, they are using EndNote. If you are using the more or less last version of the software, the last version of EndNote and the last version of Microsoft Word, there should be no problems if you just send it like this. So if I save this file and send to somebody else, I'm sending the whole library together with this file, because the library is automatically connected now to this file. And if I receive, imagine that I have received this document a few seconds ago for someone, there is an option export to EndNote, and there is an option export traveling library. So there is a library. There is one library that we created in the very beginning when we opened EndNote, but there is another library which is called Traveling Library. It is called Traveling because this library will be traveling together with this document wherever you send this document. And if I want to export this library, I can export to my existing library, or I can create a new library. So if you have sent this document to your supervisor, most probably he will be able just to export the existing library, so he will get all these references, and there is no need to do anything else. But for example,
traveling library is needed to not to show all your library to supervisor, but to show only these 5 links.
Yes. And for example, what I normally do, I have a big library which is called, I don't know, nanoparticles. And this library may have 500 references. But then I finish the paper and there are only 50 references. And I also click export traveling library, and I save this reference library, this traveling library, in the folder with the paper, in order not to have all these 500 references in the library. Yeah, and if you send to someone, he also can save this library and he will get all your references on his laptop if he has EndNote. But for example, some of you who worked with Carla, you know that Carla doesn't like to use this option, and he's always saying, please send to me unformatted version. So unformatted version is when we convert it to unformatted, like this. And the question of Sasha was, are these names unique or not? If you are working on a single computer and you're working with the same EndNote library, these names are unique, because unique are even not the names of the authors and years, but these numbers, this number 8, number 7. And when you will send your paper to Carla, he will ask to send this unformatted version plus your original EndNote library. And then if he does some corrections, he will send to you a new document plus new library where he did some corrections or added something or deleted something. But so as I said, in principle, he can just work within this document because traveling library will be always here.
But what is the reason of making unformatted version?
Because for, I don't know, probably for some old versions of EndNote or probably for some old versions of Microsoft Word, this didn't work. I don't know.
No, sometimes it's convenient to see the references when you see the name of author you're citing. Because in this way you memorize, have I cited someone or not yet? Okay.
Myself.
Myself, for example. But also it's sometimes tricky because if we have several works of the same year from the same author,
yeah, then
you need to memorize also the number more or less. But anyway, the starting principle is to remember the name of the author.
But if you want to remember the names, there is a style, for example, author date.
Yes, there is a particular style. So.
And so you can update like this. Now all your citations have author and date, but these citations are still links. So it's not plain text, these are links.
Yes, and this is good if you have a second author. In this way, it's more easy if you have several articles from the same author. By looking at second author, you can distinguish one article from another.
Then there is another option, convert to plain text, which is, so it creates a copy of your document where the formatting is the same as was in your original document. But these references are no longer links. So this is now plain text. It can be useful, for example, I don't know, if you want to paste the text to some simple text editor, or if you want to paste the text into some online form.
Yeah, but sometimes it's also good if you want to prepare the final version of the document, not to be modified more.
Yes, yes.
And then convert it into a PDF file, or are you going to print it on another computer, which you don't know? Because then, if you put on some other word, if there is any EndNote, it starts automatically to check, update your references. So if you want to avoid everything this, you just
So this means that removing all the links, you're making your document much more simple.
Yes.
And if your document is simple, then there are much less probability that some will happen.
Word, for example, and print it out.
Yes. What else we can do? Yeah, and by the way, maybe one useful shortcut. If you if you have a lot of links in your Word document, you can select the place where you don't want to have any links, and you press Ctrl, Shift, and F9, and all links are cancelled. These are not only EndNote links, but any other links in your text. For example, it can be linked to figures, linked to something else, and like this you can remove all interesting features of your document. Then I wanted to speak a little bit about styles, because so you are preparing a paper. And
coming further, have you ever converted references from plain text of Word into EndNote? If you have references like this,
if I have references,
a list of references, you created a Word file where reference was typed in Word file. Then you want to create an EndNote library from this. There is an option. Transfer from Word to EndNote.
Yes.
Have you ever tried? Does it work?
I didn't try it because normally it works with.
Now imagine you have a metodichka
Yeah.
with references. So you copy these references and you create a EndNote library. You just add.
Yes. I never did it because but this is an interesting option.
Could be, yes.
But I guess you will have a lot of problems in automatic recognition of
yes,
the
the point
fields.
is that you should set the type of references, book,
yes,
journal,
yes,
so on.
yes,
I
yes.
don't know how. Is it work automatically or it's not like
I never did it.
Okay.
I never did it because I was lucky not to work with such kind of documents. So it's easier to convince everybody to use EndNote and to never to have such kind of documents. Yeah, but
because sometimes someone in hurry prepared his document by copy and paste method. And copy and paste together with the references which are in typed form, in the printed form. So
yeah, I never use it. So we decided that the style of our document is ACS. And if you go to EndNote and there is Edit Style, Output Styles, and you can open Style Manager, you can see that number of styles is really huge. So there are styles for many of specific journals from specific fields. But imagine that we're not satisfied with this list of 1000 references, 1000 styles, and we want to edit our style. Then in Output Styles, there is a button Edit. And normally it suggests you to edit the style which you are currently using in your editing Word document. And here are all the options, all the settings that you may want to modify for creating a specific document. And when you will work by yourself, you can go deeper in all the settings. But for example, these are the templates for making the reference list. For example, if we go to the journal article, now the order is author, title, journal, year, volume, issue, pages. If you want to modify something, for example, you say I want year not bold, you can edit it just like here. If you insert some additional field, for example, I don't know, for example, you want to insert DOI, or it may be useful, for example, if you are creating your CV or some application and you want to make this document for the people who will read it, that all your publications are easily accessed, then you can add DOI to show the way how to easy find your papers. Then there are option author list, where you can choose if you want to list all author names or if you want to list just 3, and then, or if you want to have a comma or semicolon between them. Then you can select how you want to name your authors. Do you want to use full names or not, and so on. So there are a lot of useful options, and please feel encouraged to modify the standard EndNote styles, because sometimes it really helps. And then very useful option is journal names. So I guess most of you know that when you read any kind of paper and you look the reference list, the journals are listed not in full names, but in the abbreviated names. And normally when you download a reference from some website, this reference may not have the abbreviation. And this is very important, and I guess this will be useful for most of you, how to make your reference to have abbreviated journals and not full journal names. For this, so unfortunately now we have only Nature and Science that do not have abbreviations. So let's add some. Let's add some more references, and let's check how they are cited now. Okay, they are cited correctly because
Because you have them.
Because I already processed them. Okay, so when you import your reference, let's see this one from Science. Then you have journals, and you have alternate journal. So here you may put some abbreviated journal name. And for example, all journals, they have official abbreviation. So you can put here your official abbreviation. And the most easy, but not the fastest way that most people use, that they put everywhere they put alternate journal. So if it's science, that it stays science, but if it's journal physical chemistry, it will be JPhysChemC. And then when you edit your output style, you can say that when I'm citing some paper, I want to have not journal, but I want to have, do you see alternate journal? Yes. But I want to have alternate journal instead of journal. And so in this way you will have to manually change in all your references. You will have to add alternate journal into each of the references, but you will be sure that that in the final document you will have you will have the names that you did and not the names that are incorrect, that are not according to the rule of the journal. Another option is, but you see that originally in this style it was written not alternate journal, but journal. And even with this option, my reference list was formatted in the proper way, so it was using short names instead of full names. And this was due to this option that journal names should be abbreviated. How does this option work? So I don't save. In your EndNote window, there is option Tools, Open Term List, and Journal Term List. And here you will see the full list of different journal names that you have in your library and abbreviation that EndNote assume to link to these journal names. And for example, you see for Journal of Physical Chemistry, we have two names. We have Journal of Physical Chemistry C, and we have the Journal of Physical Chemistry C. And for both of the journals, we have the same abbreviation. But for some journals, we don't have abbreviation. For example, for Nature, we don't have, but this is not a problem. But for machine learning, we also don't have, which is probably a problem, because I guess machine learning should have some abbreviation. I will not check it now, but most probably it has. If I clear all this list, then I go back, I do update citations, and you see that now I have full journal names. So Journal of Physical Chemistry C. And normally this is the way your reference will look like when you just import your reference from the web. So I need to go to Open Term List, Journal Term List, and now there are two different ways. One way is to import an existing list, and in EndNote there is the huge library of journal abbreviations, and for example I can import physics, and so it has imported 3,350 names. Now when I go to terms, I see the full list of all journals that EndNote knows that they are existing in field of physics, and I have abbreviation 1 and I also have abbreviation 2. This is very fast, but this will not work if your journal is named incorrectly. For example, instead of, I don't know, Journal of Rheology, you may put the Journal of Rheology. And in this way, EndNote will not understand that this is the same journal. And also in this way, you will have a huge list of excessive journal names which you are not using in your paper. So an alternative way, I delete again this. By the way, let's check if it works or not. Import list, I will import also chemistry. And I will update again my library. So for example, for the reviews in modern physics, it worked. For physical review B, for some reason it didn't. Maybe because physical review B should be named as physical review B condensed matter. And in my library it was just physical review B. So in some cases, for some references it worked, for some it doesn't. So I go here, I empty again the journal names list. and I go to lists and I do update list. And now I want EndNote to pick all journal names that I have in my library, and by default I want to set as abbreviation 1 the alternate journal name, because maybe for some journals I have already listed this alternate journal. So I click OK. It has imported 9 different journal names from my 13 references, and then I can open each of them and I can put my now if I go to EndNote, update bibliography, now everything works fine. So I think this should be useful suggestion that when you need to have abbreviated journal names, so this is one of the most optimal ways to do it. So it's not fastest, but it's 100% correct.
But you can do it only on your computer. If you send your library to Carlo, Carlo will update all references. We will receive full names everywhere. Am I right?
I'm not sure. This
because
we need to check.
This setting should be transferred as well, because it seems setting of this particular program. So on your computer.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We need to check. I will send you this library. But you can do export list, and you can create the list of abbreviations for your library and send to someone who wants to update.
So we need to memorize it in some way to make it more universal.
Yeah.
Transfer it together with one.
But also, if you're sending it to your supervisor, who will update, and then the journal names will be not correct, but then he will send you back and you will update. So if you are the person who will make the final version, it's not a problem.
Can you show again where did you choose to use abbreviated name for the article?
Okay, so you go Edit, Output Styles, Edit Current Style, and there is an option Journal Names.
Okay.
And you can also remove dots, because in some... Okay, so in principle, at this point we can stop, because it's already 5 o'clock. And if you have some questions...
Yes, I have one forward or I think for master students. If by chance someone of you will create a ghost style, please put it on website. Then everyone can download ghost style for master thesis.
But Kirill already did this several years ago.
Is it available?
But there is ghost style here.
Yes. Okay, perfect.
But I think Kirill did some fine
advanced ghost style.
Yeah, if we may have it on website, if by chance can ask this style to be deposited.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. But so in EndNote there is some ghost style by default. The only problem of this style is that if I know this style correctly, then when you cite some paper, you need to put on the first author, then journal name, article name, and then all other authors. So this is not included in the style. But I did with the style all my...
And nobody cares.
Yes. But anyway, for master students, I think it will be useful. For our foreign colleagues, we say the ghost style is a state standard for references for master thesis. Yeah, so we have a state
so also for you now.
It's very important.
Here.
And it has particular order of citing of author and so on.
I have also a question.
Yes.
If I have my PDF files of my references sorted in the folders, how do I make automatically a library from all these documents?
Let's try. So I have some paper, and there is an option attach file.
No, this I know. Attach. No, I want
To link.
Not to link, but to create a library from my papers in my folders, which are not in EndNote yet. I have some list of PDFs.
Okay, and
So
you want...
create automatically from folder with PDF files, create a library.
Okay, it can... I think I used it once, it didn't work, and then I never tried to do it again. But
so you're not able to pick up by itself
yes.
names from PDF files.
Yes, there was such an option, but so I tried it several years ago and it didn't work fine. And
But inside one library, can you create folders in EndNote?
Here? Yes. You can. I don't remember how, but
Okay.
you can.
Maybe groups.
Yes, you can do like
it
this.
is like a folder.
And each of your reference can be linked to several folders, for example.
Okay.
More questions?
Yes, the final, it's better to say that EndNote creates a file and a folder. And if you want to transfer, as Carla asks, you need to transfer both of them.
Yes, if we go to our document folder, then we have, do you see this? Yes.
ENL, yeah.
So we have this file, machine learning ENL, and also we have a folder, machine learning with the same name, .data. And if you want to send your library to someone, you should send both this file and this folder.
Because
With
this
some...
folder contains everything.
А тут Миша Салата нас слушает, передает всем привет и ответил на мой предыдущий вопрос.
Что он сказал?
А?
Что он сказал?
Говорит, просто нужно перетянуть PDF-ку в EndNote.
Let's try.
Я отсканировал это дело.
Не, он говорит, если PDF-ки достаточно новые.
Okay.
Давай какого-нибудь Бугаева перетащим.
Новую.
Диссертацию перетащи.
So let's try.
Когда ты его выбросил просто. Не, по-моему.
Может, она не туда перетянем? А, и он еще пишет, и у него был онлайн-вопрос, кстати. Ты, который не прочитал, ну?
Зачитывайте все записки, поступающие докладчику.
Может, уже на левую половину перетянем?
Import option. Import. Woo! Okay, it worked. So we tried to import just the PDF document and it worked. Okay, but let's check. Wow.
А alternate journal есть или нет?
No.
Даже два ESL.
Okay. But no abstract. I think from PDF. Okay, any other questions?